Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. Okay, so in today's video, we are going to be discussing the mythologies of Gemini. We're going to be looking at Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greek mythology. That way, you can gain a deeper understanding of this versatile sign. Stay tuned because we are going to get into it. But before we do, make sure that you give this video a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And if you are interested in booking a reading with me, then you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find my practical astrology ebooks guide, merch, cheat sheets, all that good stuff. All the links to these products will be in the description box down below. And if you're interested in getting access to new videos early, as well as PDF guides and daily forecasts, then head on over to my Patreon. It's a great way to support the channel. And I also want to say thank you so much to my patrons over there for all of your support. As always, I hope you find this video to be helpful. Let's do this. Now, before we do get started, I just want to give a massive shout out to the author of this book, Astrology for Lovers. The author is Liz Greene. Thanks to Liz Greene's knowledge, I have been able to create this very series. All right, so let's start off by turning our attention to ancient Babylon. The constellation of Gemini was referred to as, I will insert the words here, the Great Twins. And much like their Greek counterparts, I will insert the word here as well, aka Castor and Pollux, the Babylonian twins were depicted as a pair of armed warriors. Some texts describe the twins as two bearded males. Now, the twin in front carries their weapon in their right hand, but the one behind carries their sickle in their left hand. This right here is an important point because this, in my view, signifies the mirroring quality of Gemini, okay? The duality. And get this, in ancient times, when Venus stood in the Great Twins, there was much hostility. These twins are indeed warlike. And if Mars approaches this constellation, the prince would die. The twins guarded the entrance to the underworld, and the underworld actually had two entrances. Each entrance is associated with the solstices, so the winter and the summer solstice, a wintertime entrance and a summertime entrance. We talked about Cancer and Capricorn in their own mythology videos, so do be sure to check those out. But we explored how Cancer is associated with the underworld. Through Cancer, we are sort of led to the underworld. We descend as the days start to get shorter and shorter. We enter the afterlife and we unite with our ancestors. And Capricorn is associated with darkness. But this is about a turning point from darkness to light. Through Capricorn, we are guided to greater sunlight as the sun begins to regain its strength. We celebrate the rebirth of the sun from the waters of chaos. Okay, so the head of the goat rises as the tail of the fish, okay, the goatfish associated with Capricorn, still hides beneath. Both solstices are periods of great reflection, renewal, and contemplation. And so, here lies the role of Gemini. The twins guard the entrances to prevent evil demons. And this is also about two aspects of the god of the underworld's character. This is about the dead and how we rise from the underworld. The twins were regarded as minor gods and were called, I will insert their names here, meaning the mighty king and the one who has arisen from the underworld. And here is another very interesting thing about this. The glyph of Gemini, which we will explore more of in the Gemini symbolism video, but the glyph of Gemini shows what looks like a pillar or an entrance, a doorway to other worlds and dimensions. And it was the great twins who guarded doorways. They guarded the gates to the underworld, as previously mentioned. They also are said to have chopped the dead into pieces before passing through. And in some sources, the constellation of the Great Twins is believed to commemorate the friendship of Gilgamesh and then Enkidu. They are said to have adventured and explored together and fought the gods in 12 quests for immortality. Remember in the Sagittarius video, we explored the mythology of Chiron and its connections with the constellation of Sagittarius. Chiron was granted the gift of immortality for his wisdom, but he could not die. There is a side to Sagittarius that is immortal, but then there is another side that is mortal. A side that reaches to the heavens and another that is very much rooted in reality. But you see, Gemini also possesses this duality. Yes, a side linked to heaven and another side linked to the earth. Through Gemini, we are presented with more symbolism of life and death, entering the underworld and then re-emerging. Perhaps Gemini is the messenger that pieces the many connections of death and rebirth together. Okay, so let's now move on to Egyptian mythology. So in ancient Egypt, the constellation of Gemini was called the two stars, or I will put the word here, okay, which means the united. Gemini was also at times represented by a pair of goats. Now, the Dendera zodiac also shows an image of a man and a woman holding hands, and so indicating unity. And the Dendera zodiac, by the way, is a widely known Egyptian bas relief from the ceiling of the pronaos of the chapel dedicated to Osiris in the Hathor temple at Dendera. If my pronunciations are not very good, I do apologize, but I hope that you still find this information to be useful. Now, there is an event known as the SED Festival, and this festival is symbolic of the death and rebirth of the pharaoh. This festival was about the renewal of the pharaoh's power. He would descend into the underworld and become one with Osiris, and then he would return. And when alive, the pharaoh was identified with Horus. So in the underworld, the pharaoh united with Osiris, but on earth, he united with Horus. But remember, Horus and Set, they battled a lot. We've talked about this in previous videos. And it was Set who killed Osiris. And so here we notice again this duality playing out, right? We also notice how on earth, Horus would win, but in the underworld, Osiris lost. Essentially, these transitions and this duality was referred to as the two lords. And the spiritual lesson in this is that Horus and Set are united. Okay, so even though they're opposites, they are united. Gemini, therefore, again, points to duality, but it's also looking at two sides of the same coin. This is about yin yang. Even consider how Gemini is the third sign. Okay, it goes Aries, yang, Taurus, yin. But Gemini comes after and shows how the two are interconnected, okay? How they unite. It's also that thing of 1 + 1, yes, equals 2, but perhaps it actually equals 3. So, for instance, a man and a woman, they have a baby together, okay? So that actually creates 3 people, the man, woman, and child. But of course, there is this unifying energy, right? Even the zodiac itself, it's a wheel, right? It's a circle. Each sign has an opposite, but the 2 opposing signs, they are linked. They are mirrors. We, of course, will explore more about balance in the Libra video, but Gemini, you see, Gemini is the one that ushers in duality. Death and life are indeed one and the same. It depends on which angle you view things. And this is also about integrating our shadow, okay? Our shadow being the opposite. All right, so lastly, let's explore Greek mythology, okay? The Greek mythology of Gemini. This type of mythology is my personal favorite. So Gemini is connected with the Greek story of Castor and Pollux, okay, which included the twins of Zeus, who were hatched from an egg laid by Leda, who disguised herself as a swan to mate with Zeus. What followed from this was a pair of twins, one mortal, human, and the other immortal, divine. We notice from this myth a nod to duality once again. Whilst one twin would rise to the heavens as an immortal god, the other would fall to the earth as a mortal human. The 2 then would also alternate between characters or roles, right? Perhaps indicating the two-faced quality of Gemini, the twin-like quality. This constellation is, of course, so the constellation of Gemini is dominated by Castor and Pollux, okay? So these 2 bright stars appear relatively very closely together, forming like an O shape, perhaps encouraging the mythological link between the constellation and then looking to this twin-like nature. The twin above and to the right, as seen from the northern hemisphere, is Castor, and the twin below and then to the left is Pollux. Then the other stars in this constellation can be visualized as 2 parallel lines descending from the 2 main stars, and some suggest it is like the twins are, you ready for this, holding hands. Okay, so we're noticing the links here to Egyptian mythology. This myth shows us that Gemini is both an extrovert and an introvert at the same time. This is also what the constellation itself sort of implies. It shows us as well that Gemini represents both the feminine and masculine qualities, making Gemini a rather adjustable and flexible sign. Gemini further signifies both the conscious and unconscious mind, and that we can fluctuate between the 2. It's the sign of Gemini that can represent us being both in the light and in the dark, and that perception can play the part of really defining which side is being shown, felt, or heard. The myth of Castor and Pollux is to show us that we can gain great insight from both the spiritual and physical worlds, as well as from the emotional and intellectual worlds. This is what makes Gemini a highly relatable sign, but it's also what makes Gemini inconsistent. Naturally, the ruling planet of Gemini also comes with its own myth, which I want to explore quickly. So Mercury, also known as Hermes, was the messenger of the gods. Now, Hermes would deliver information to the gods and inform them of multiple pieces of facts. According to myth, as soon as Mercury was born, Mercury got rather restless and bored and sought after more interesting surroundings. Mercury was a curious learner and was very youthful as well. However, Mercury was also a trickster and was known as a thief who would steal from the other gods. Within this story, we learn about the characteristics of Gemini that are sharp, bright, communicative, and intellectual. But we also notice the characteristics of Gemini that can be fickle, easily bored, cunning, like I said, inconsistent. Furthermore, this myth can be associated with qualities of Gemini that are changeable and flexible. Okay, Gemini can adapt pretty well to changes within the environment, to certain people as well. They can mirror others. Gemini can also be quite good at putting on an act when this sign wants to. Sort of being what you want this sign to be, kind of similar to Pisces. And this is performed, like I said, through mirroring. Perhaps a better way, though, to think of this is being able to socially adjust oneself to communicate with others. Gemini can be ever so social, friendly, talkative, entertaining, and expressive. On the other hand, there are also parts of Gemini that can be superficial, where they keep things at a very surface level. Like I said, this sign can be fickle. They can say one thing but do another. It's a sign that can struggle with commitment and follow through. Gemini often has its fingers in too many pies. Yes, variety is great, it's the spice of life, but they might be forgetful, they might overlook important details, or they can be a jack of all trades but a master of none. It can be hard for this sign to commit and focus on one thing at a time. Not the best at following a schedule. Impractical, restless, impatient, and rather scattered. Overthinking can be a major issue as well, and also being too nosy and caught up in other people's business unnecessarily. And this right here is where we notice the qualities Gemini can often lack. Qualities of staying true to their morals and beliefs, as well as qualities of patience, consistency, being practical, being sentimental, and focusing on their inner security. Consider where Gemini sits in the zodiac. Opposite Sagittarius, the sign of morality, reaching higher and seeking to understand. And then between the signs, Taurus and Cancer. Taurus is the hidden self of Gemini. Taurus encourages Gemini to integrate qualities of follow through, substance, and productivity. And Cancer correlates with the qualities Gemini is here to learn. The qualities Gemini grows into. Qualities of being tenacious, protective, emotionally intelligent, and warm. Gemini teaches us that we all possess opposites, such as us all possessing both feminine and masculine qualities, or that we all possess a light side and a dark side. But it's how these parts of us communicate with one another. We can integrate other qualities of ourselves, which are often mirrored through other people. We can also learn that we're going to behave differently based on many factors, such as the environment we're in, the people we surround ourselves with, the information that's presented to us at the time. And we as people, we change. You know, if anything, Gemini teaches us that it's okay to change your mind. The permanency of life is that everything changes. Nothing truly stays the same. And so this is about exploring our openness to change. Can we adapt? This archetype is so much about livening things up and spicing up our lives. We get to think in new ways, embrace the changes that happen, and enjoy variety and different options available to us. We learn from Gemini how to be multifaceted, where we possibly juggle 2 or 3 things at once. Naturally, it's also important not to spread ourselves too thin. But overall, Gemini is the messenger and the connector, and shows up as curiosity, intrigue, and duality in our charts. This student and teacher is an intelligent comedian who shares their thoughts and their ideas somewhat effortlessly. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video talking all about the mythology of Gemini. Please let me know if you find this video to be helpful. Did you learn something new? I would really appreciate your feedback, and like you, I am always learning. You can find all of the sources that I used in this video in the description box down below. And I also want to say, again, thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon for all of your support. And do let me know your thoughts and your opinions on today's video in the comment section. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and also give this video a like if you did like it today. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye.